Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, the Corvette is on the ground. Well, it's temporarily on the ground. What we've done is actually lower the car down, so the suspension is under its full weight. The lift is not touching the car at all. But if you guys can see up front, there is no gap between the tire and the fender. And actually, the tire is sitting on the inner fender well. So obviously we need to do some work in the front. I also want to show you the back. The back, I don't think we're going to have to adjust really much at all, because if you guys can see, we've got like, finger and a half, almost two full fingers. So we might need to adjust this up, but the real concern right now is just the front. So basically what we'll be doing today is getting the car back up in the air, adjusting the coilovers, and hopefully getting the ride height at a better point. Alright guys, so as you can see, we have the tire off. It's over here. We actually have a jack under the front suspension, and that's just to compress it a little bit. That way when we're trying to adjust the coilover, we're not hitting the upper control arm or anything. You don't want that rubbing on there. So what I actually did was I actually raised the passenger side up. You guys can see the thread down there. We actually raised it up 3/4 of an inch. I first tried 1/2 an inch, put the tire back on the car, lowered it back down off the lift, and unfortunately I only had like literally a finger of clearance. And I took it another 1/4 inch. I probably could go maybe even an inch total of additional height, but what I'm afraid of is not having enough thread inside the upper housing here, and B, I'm afraid of the suspension compressing and hitting the fender. So that's kind of what I'm worried about the most. So like I said, we did 3/4 inch raising on the passenger side. The driver's side, we're going to do the same thing. And to keep everything accurate, we're going to use our digital calipers here and make sure that we've got that extra 3/4 of an inch from the top. Alright, so you're going to see the upper ring is now loose. I mean, that wasn't really tight at all. And basically what I'm going to do is tighten it all the way back up till it stops by hand. Obviously we're not using any tools. And now we're actually going to go grab our bigger wrench here and put this on the lower ring here and twist it to where it's going to loosen outside of the housing. So I have this locked down at 0.7495. That is close enough to being 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch. So now what we're going to do is thread the shock body upper lock back up. We'll tighten this down. Make sure you get this tight. I thought I had the passenger side tight, but it was not tight at all. So basically lock it this way, righty-tighty, so go toward the back of the car. Then you also need to put the other tool this way to support it. That way the shock body doesn't move when you're trying to tighten this down. So we just gained a bunch of ground clearance, and we can just about fit 2 fingers on here. And I'll be honest guys, I think that's about where we were with the coilovers, with this setup. This setup just took way more effort on the setup than those ones did. Well, those ones had been installed on another car, so maybe that's why those were set up pretty well. But these ones, holy crap, were they way too low. But yeah, we got about 2 fingers. I just checked the passenger side. It's just about the same with the clearance, and I think we should be good. Now there probably is like another 3/4 inch of thread inside the shock body still, so we could go up even a little bit more, but I'll be honest guys, I think this is actually a good testing point. So what we're going to do now is basically get the car out of the garage. We're not going to do it today. I'll pick this up tomorrow when there's no rain, but if you guys can see, there's a bunch of rain on the driveway. And I think we'll go for a test drive. Alright, so we're actually here in the back of the Corvette because we need to adjust this passenger side rear. For whatever reason, when we adjusted the front driver's side and passenger side, this rear pivoted down like almost a 1/2 inch to an inch. So what I'm going to do here is increase the thread length of the rear shock by a 1/2 inch. I think that should be a good starting point, and then we could, you know, put the wheel back on the car, lower it back down, and go from there. But just changing the front, you know, by 3/4 of an inch on both sides. The driver's rear didn't move at all, but this side, it almost came slamming back down, and I've already had rubbing issues back here. We don't want to repeat that. So, all right, so you can see that the coilover has a bunch of thread exposed, and I have preset my digital caliper to a 1/2 inch, so we're good. We have a 1/2 inch of extra thread popped out, and we're just gonna tighten this back down, this lower ring, and that should hopefully give us the ride height that we need. Because basically, like I was saying earlier, when we had the tire was not going to clearance the fender all that well, and by jacking up the front, it set this right rear particularly off, and we lost a bunch of space that we had. So let's go ahead and get this tightened down. We'll throw the wheel back on, and we'll hopefully see what the difference is with this new suspension setting. Alright guys, real quick update. Some changes you won't be able to see, but we did actually adjust the front coilovers another 1/4 of an inch, because when we went for a test drive, the front fender was hitting the tire pretty bad, and not the fender, but the fender liner, and there's actually some rubber and crap, you know, ground down plastic here. So we raised it up another 1/4 inch. I hope that helps. If not, we're gonna have to rethink our front coilover strategy. And you will also notice we actually have the front sway bar back installed. And the real quick torque numbers for this front sway bar is 43 foot-pounds for the brackets that hold the front sway bar in, and then 56 foot-pounds on this nut back here. That's basically the stud that holds the nut to the lower control arm. So that's back installed. Oh, and the pinch bolts are 13 foot-pounds, but that's gonna be specific to the front sway bar. So the front suspension is all back in place, and now hopefully this 1/4 inch, this last 1/4 inch is all we're gonna need to adjust the coilover. I actually still need to adjust the back. You guys remember earlier we did 1/2 inch on one side. I'm gonna do 1/2 inch on the other side, just so that everything's even, and when we go to get in alignment, you know, the coilovers are all roughly within the same height. Hey guys, as you can see, we're out on the interstate testing the Corvette, and I think we finally got the coilovers out to a good, you know, junction where we're not going to rub. I've hit several major dips on the freeway, kind of like we just hit a bridge. We didn't rub on anything, I didn't hear anything. I think this is going pretty well. Obviously, our alignment is seriously screwed up. So, you know, we're not planning on doing a long test drive. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we were good with the coilover height. So we might drop it down a little bit, but obviously with the alignment, we obviously need to get this thing corrected. And air fuel's good, fuel pressure's good. You know, we've already done the tuning side of this car. We just haven't done the alignment suspension adjustment part. Well, we've adjusted the coilovers and whatnot, but like I was saying, you know, we haven't gotten the alignment done. So once we get this alignment straightened out, we should be done. So I'm gonna go up the road a couple more miles, turn around, and if we have any issues, we'll let you know. All right guys, we made it home without any major issue. The Corvette's back in its spot, and we got it cooling down with the fans going on. But that's pretty much gonna be it for the suspension part of this project. I do have to go get it aligned, and we kind of mentioned that in the car. But you know, we took some big bumps on the interstate, didn't notice anything, no rubbing at all. And if anything, I might want to lower the rear just a little bit. I'm not sure at this point, but maybe a 1/4 inch of thread on the back, because we do have like 3 fingers of gap between the top of the tire and the fender. So, you know, that back wheel is actually, it's a tricky slope, because I've actually rubbed on that in the past, and we've actually rubbed a hole through the fender liner. You know, I don't want to do that again. Those fender liners are like $130 a side, something like that. Now, I haven't replaced mine yet, but that is something I'm gonna have to fix or you know, take care of, but it's just one of those things, you know, fine line you want to be careful, because you don't want it too low, you'll rub a hole through it. You don't want to be too high, it looks stupid. So we're kind of in between there. But from the spec that BC Racing sent those coilovers out, I did raise them up 1/2 inch of thread. Figure maybe if we come down to 1/4 inch of thread, you know, so half that might work, but we'll see. So right now we're just gonna put the car back on a charger. We got another project coming up before we get in alignment. We'll get that done, and then we'll go get this thing aligned, and hopefully we get that steering wheel straightened out. You guys saw how that was off by almost like 3/4 of a turn, so it was pretty bad. But it was driving straight, just, you know, it needs to be straightened up in the line. But if you guys want to see that and the rest of the suspension videos, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. And if you guys want to help support the channel, I'll try to have links to the coilovers, the upper mounts that we use, those polyurethane mounts on the front, as well as the front sway bar, so we kind of touched all those today, in today's video. So, and also check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Thanks guys, have a great one.